Going, everybody? Millennials lead the way. We are back here with another quarterly update for a new series I started using Energia. Four things I talk about on this channel, which isn't really much. I only do updates, but four things I focus on, I guess, when it comes to finances are uh, being debt free, which I'm already debt free. Getting your emergency fund, which I have 6 months, increasing your income, which I'm going to talk a little bit about at the end of this, and maintaining a high savings rate. These are four things that I think most people should kind of dial in on, especially in these times, man. But to be honest, in during any time, man, these four principles I stick by is something I've constantly been doing, and it's put me in a good spot, right? So, but yeah. So I've been with Energia since January of this year, and I'm really liking it so far. They've been making a lot of updates to the platform since I've been with them, and I'm sure they're gonna continue to do great things with the company. Uh, so before I kind of give my opinions on this quarter, or just in general about Energia, right? If you're an investor with Energia, it is probably in your best interest to review their Q2 webinar. I say this because in this webinar, they answer a lot of important questions that I think are vital to how you should invest with the company. And they give some pretty important updates as far as to, recent projects and payouts, right? They even outline exactly how their share price is even like calculated and the purpose behind it, right? That's one thing I really like about, really like about Energia, is all their information is easy to find, right? Everything you need is up front, right? They don't try to hide anything. So everything's up front, right? Like they're not. And here, I really like these Q2 webinars because it's not a pre-recorded, pre-staged, update. Like this is a live webinar. Like if you're an investor, you can tap in here and ask real live questions, which I think is like awesome, and like they get a lot of respect in my book, to the point where it kind of makes me wonder why hasn't Fundrise done that? You know, Fundrise is another company I invest with. It's where I have the majority of my funds for now. I'm going to talk about that later on as well. But I don't understand why they don't do live webinars, right? I mean, I don't know. I just think these are awesome, man. I couldn't participate in this one. I was out in the field training. Bro, let me tell you something, man. This North Carolina sun is not a joke. Like, on here on Fort Bragg, bro, it's brutal out here, man. Good Lord. But as you guys can see, I haven't really put anything in this account in the past couple months. There's a lot of stuff that's been coming up lately, right? And it's not something that can be solved with a paycheck or two. And I don't want to use my emergency fund to handle a lot of these things. A lot of them aren't that big of a deal, and I just chose not to put money in my investment accounts, and instead I just, used my day-to-day paychecks. So stuff like I needed a new computer, a new phone, had to get 4 new tires, 4 new brake pads, an oil change, and like that easily tallied up to like $5,000, maybe $6,000, like quick, And then, there's stuff that I had to get at work, had to buy, um, had to replace some equipment and stuff at work. I had to buy some other stuff. And I decided, I'm not going to sit here and pinch pennies. I'd rather just not put anything in my investments and just focused on that stuff. But that's over now. Everything should be good. And now I can start putting money back into my investments. So I'm excited for that now. Now, to this day, or up until now, I've made about $52 in dividends. I've put in about $4,000, $4,200, and nothing was really paid out. And by paid out, I mean everything has been reinvested into Energia, right? I don't see a purpose in collecting this money. It's like $4. There's no point in it. Even if I were to put a lump sum of cash in here, which I'm still debating on, I probably still wouldn't take it out, right? I would probably just reinvest it. Actually, this is also a good feature I like too, because when you go inside of these, it kind of tells you how that portfolio did for the quarter, and it just gives you an update, right, on where it's at, what it's doing, how things paid out, if they were, on time or not, which is really nice, man. Really nice. Really nice updates that they give us, like real-time updates. So, again, +1 for Energia for doing that. Another thing I would say is, again, watch that Q2 webinar, man. Like, they answered a lot of important questions that I had, even questions I didn't even think of. Like, I was like, wow, that is good to know. Kind of like how they went into the actual share price, right? And they kind of gave a better understanding on how this investment should be used or utilized. And it kind of helped me, it got me one step closer to making a final decision, right, on how much I'm going to take out of Fundrise and what I'm going to allocate towards Energia. Now, obviously, my impact is about as equally as important as getting a return, right? I like seeing these stats. I like knowing that I'm helping the world out, even if it's a little piece at a time. I like knowing, they're bringing power to, some of these countries. I really like that. Like, it makes me feel good. But again, right, the returns are important too, right? I mean, it goes hand in hand almost. But based on that webinar, right, it let me know that doing the whole dollar cost averaging thing with Energia, I don't really think it's my cup of tea, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean, Energia is, hold on, let me see if I can show you guys on their investment. So let's go to like Brazil. So from how I understood that webinar, Energia is more of a place where it can give you reliable income, right? How their share price is organized is where doesn't matter what time you come in to the company, everybody gets an equal shake, right? So if you're just now getting in on a company, the share price isn't that much, right? Or it's balanced out, and even when people are coming in late, the dividends are starting to ramp up for everybody. I don't know if I explained that I don't know if I explained that correctly. Again, man, you got to watch it and determine it for yourself. I understood it the way I interpret things, and I don't know if I could like regurgitate that here on this update on YouTube. I just, you're better off asking Tyler or Mike. They can give you a better explanation, man. But how I understand it is, if I'm going to invest in Energia, it has to be a lump sum at a time, right? So, am I still going to dollar cost average for the time being? Yes. But come October, I'm going to make a final decision on how much money I'm going to take from Fundrise and throw into Energia. And that's going to be in increments of $100,000. Now, and because, right, if we look at this graph, which I really like this graph, right? It kind of puts things into, terms. It kind of shows you what $100,000 could potentially do, right? Estimated returns based on assumptions, not guaranteed, which I kind of hate when financial firms say this because it's like, oh, nothing's guaranteed, which leads me into my next topic, right? And it's probably the only thing that stands in the way of me putting $100,000 in is your money being locked in for 3 years. Now, I understand the purpose of it. Like, seriously, I truly understand that. I understand how some of these properties are working, right? Once the money goes into there, it's not reasonable to be able to, like, pull it out because the money is, like, working, right? Like, it's real estate. At the end of the day, like, the money is being spent and it's being moved around. The money's in circulation. But about 2 or 3 years ago, I used to invest with a company called Wealthfront. And for some of y'all that watch my updates, you guys kind of know how I feel about Wealthfront, right? And Wealthfront really opened my eyes to the potential harm some of these financial firms can do. Now, I'm not saying Energia is out here doing something terrible, but it let me know that they can, right? So one day, they're investing in solar. The next day, they're giving $10 million to Black Lives Matter, right? But the difference with Wealthfront, and I'm not saying they did that, right? I hope they didn't do that. But if you did do that, please. Actually, I'm going to ask if you guys did that. Yeah, I think I'm going to send an email and ask if they actually gave money to that organization. Which, we kind of knew that organization was a criminal organization, but I digress. The difference between Energia and Wealthfront is I could take my money out, right? They gave to an organization, or they kind of veered well off of what their original purpose was and started enforcing their will on everybody. And I could take my money out, right? I don't agree with that. I'm going to get up out of here. Now, with Energia, I can't really do that. Again, I'm not saying they will. I don't know, but I don't know that, right? So that is probably the only thing stopping me from putting a lump sum in here. Now, obviously, things can change in my life. If my life takes a 180, things start to get out of control, somehow I lose my income, I might be thinking differently, right? Because at this point, I'm going to need income and I'm going to need something steady. And at this point, I might just say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna put the money. I'm gonna put the whole 350 in here and deal with it later as it comes, right? But right now, I'm not really in a crunch for cash. So yeah, that's my only thing with Energia. I really like Energia. It's just that 3 year waiting period, man. It just, man, dude, like 3 years, man. Like there can't be some type of negotiation. Like there, maybe if they were like, hey, hold it for a year, and then after that, we can get you working maybe some type of like penalty or something, or maybe do something like what Fundrise is doing, where they're doing like a redemption process. Now, I don't think that's even feasible right now, because I don't even think Fundrise could do that back in the day. I put my money in with Fundrise, and there was no guarantee I was getting any of that back, man. And I just don't know if I want to go through that again, right? I already went through it once. Don't know if I want to go through it again. But I do see a lot of potential for Energia, man. Especially when you look at like these investments, like Brazil. There's a lot of promise in Brazil. There's also a lot of risk that could be involved. Another question I had about Energia is, especially when it involves South Africa. Now, I think we all know what's actually going on in that country, but I don't necessarily see it annotated here. So that's I'm a little confused on that. There's a lot of like destruction going on in that country right now. So I am kind of curious on how they're annotating that, and if the investment is kind of protected from that. I don't even know how it would be protected from that. It might just be going on in Nuremberg, if we're being honest. But not Nuremberg, but Johannesburg. I'm tripping. But I don't know. We'll see. Other than that, I really like these updates down here. Again, every time I log on here, they got a new addition to this, which I really like. Even when you click on these, it kind of gives you a status update, right? Tells you when a potential time it's going to be operational, and then the lifespan, which is probably the most important thing, right? And this is what I'm talking about, like with steady income. Now, obviously, they can just choose not to pay, but the contract is for like 20 years. So that's like steady income, which is again why I would be like, I would go in here 100,000 at a time, right? I wouldn't really try to dollar cost average into something like this. Not saying you can't do it, right? This is just me and where I am inside of my investing cycle. Not telling you should do this, right? Shit, I've even thought about 200,000, man. Like, if we're being honest. And me personally, I look at 10-year increments. I don't really look this far out. I kind of think it's a little pointless. And I'm just talking about for me, right? Not Energia, but for me, I only look like maybe 10 years out when I make a lot of like decisions. So, in 10 years from now, my money is gonna be, I'll make almost 150,000 basically. So, yeah, man. But that's the decision I'm looking at right now, man. I'm still torn. Every day I get some free time, I try to weigh the odds and see what I would do, and I don't know, man. I think ultimately if I just made more money, which isn't really easy being in the Army. I mean, you guys You can look up our paycheck, man. Like we don't. I mean, we ain't rich around here, bro. So I make okay money. I just don't make a lot of money. Which, if I made a lot of money, it would solve a lot of problems. But I think that's about all I got, man, for the update. Just trying to weigh the odds and make my decision, man, on how much I'm gonna put into Energia. And again, right, I would go into $100,000 increments, either 100,000 or 200,000. I've even thought about putting the whole 300 in here, you know, and just kind of splitting them between all three. Now, some of y'all might say, man, hey, bro, like, just chill out for a second, man. That's a little risky. Relax, all right? But so you could have said the same thing about Fundrise, right? Again, I really like Energia. I like their team that they got. And again, man, they're actually doing good for the world, man. So like, I don't think putting 100 or 300,000 in this account would be too risky, right? And you know, I can only imagine how much income that would return, man. I mean, if 300,000 on 10%, what is that, like, 30,000, right? So a little over $2,000 a month, maybe, right? 2,500, maybe 27. So it's just something to think about. And again, right, I wouldn't even take the money. I would just reinvest it. But that would be sweet, right? Having an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And the good thing about Energia is that money would basically go to the wallet, right? If I didn't want it reinvested, right? So any dividends that gets paid out, it can either get reinvested, or if it doesn't get reinvested, it basically goes into this wallet, and I can transfer it to my account. So I can be like, okay, I put $350 in here. I get $2,700 every month that I can do whatever with. I can reinvest it, and I can add in another $3,000. Putting me at $5,000 each month. I'm adding on to the account, or I can take that and I don't know, bro. I don't even know what I would do with that money, to be honest, other than reinvest it. So we'll see, man. You guys will definitely have my. I guess you guys will know by the time I do my next update, man. Which is, what is that, October? You guys should know what my plan is. So I know when you do a redemption process for Fundrise, it takes about a week, depending on which funds you're pulling it from. I'm not really worried about the fees because I've been with these guys over like 5 years. So we'll see, man. Or who knows, man? Maybe I just stop putting money into Fundrise and I just only focus on Energia, right? Which is another thing I'm really considering right now, right? So, right now I'm not putting any money into Fundrise, and I'm only putting money into Energia. So who knows? I might just maintain that at least for the rest of the year, and then see how things turn out. But yeah, that's the decisions I think about when I'm in the middle of the woods in the prone conducting a raid. So I'm just kidding. I don't think about that stuff during training. Yeah, man. All right, that's all I got, man. If you got any questions, hit up Tyler first, and then hit up Mike, and then ask me, right? I shouldn't be the first person you go to. unless you just want to talk about how your account's doing and your plans that you want to do. But other than that, that's it, man. Millennials, lead the way.